Music is a language of change. It's a language of movement. It touches the emotion, right? Energy and motion. And so frequency, vibration as bodies of water, we receive that language. We don't need to even understand what the lyrics are saying. We can feel the tone and the timing and the spaciousness or the lack of spaciousness, the tension and the release. And this literally moves our body and compels us and propels us forward onto the journey of life. And ultimately, I think that's where the healing happens, because water that's stagnant becomes sick, but water that's moving and flowing, which is the natural state of water, always flowing through the path of least resistance, is water that's healthy and vibrant and vitality. And that's ultimately our greatest teacher. We're here, I believe, in water's great project. And that's music, ultimately. The language of that is music.
You recognize that you're a part of, right? Right? You are literally a part of the evolution of our species.
Everything will be different. Heaven on earth will happen when the planetary context has shifted to love.
Relationship is the front line of human evolution.
Sacred Sons Summit, a 2-day community experience featuring the voices and visions of Allison Armstrong, Don Miguel Ruiz Jr., Debbie Brown, Brian and Rhonda Swan, as well as Sacred Sons co-founders Adam Jackson, Neil Christensen, and Kale Kahi, with music and concert performance by Poranguí and workshops facilitated by our Sacred Sons leadership. Join us in San Diego, California, April 11th and 12th. The summit is rooted in heart, mind, body, and spirit. Peace fam, Adam Jackson here with another episode of the Sacred Sons podcast. However, this is not just any other episode. Today we're going to be talking about prayer. We're going to be talking about music and dance. And in times like these, I feel like there are a few constants that really connect us as human beings. Culture, prayer, music, and movement. And with that, I'm so honored to welcome today's guest, Poranguí. Welcome to Sacred Sons Podcast.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here with you, Adam, and with all of our brothers and sisters tuning in with us. Muchísimas gracias.
Yes, many folks may not know, we've been weaving for years, Poranguí and Sacred Sons. We've done some benefit festivals at Trilogy, kind of post-COVID here in San Diego, and I've just been watching your journey unfold, as I was just saying, and it's amazing to see you in your dharma, in your essence, bringing through the music in the way that you do. And you were just starting to tell me, like, you've always had a knowing that this is what you wanted to do.
Yeah. So for me, this work, it started off, since I was a child, I've been in music and I've been in ceremony. Both of my parents were both musicians in their own right. And also deep in the work and the spiritual path, both of them in their own ways. My father actually started the first bilingual radio station in the Southwest in Phoenix, Arizona, and mixing kind of various styles. He's Chicano. He identifies as Chicano. He was born in Mexico City, brought to the States young, and grew up in the Southwest here. And so he's always been in this kind of bilingual world of like seeing how Latinos have gone through so much hardship, all the way from the immigrant farmers movement and all of the different ways that there's been a disconnect in a cultural identity where they've been, disenfranchised. And of course that continues here today, right? It's so relevant even today. And back then, he started the first bilingual radio station where he was mixing, everything from funk and soul and R&B and mixing that with like a lot of Latin hits, mixing that with Brazilian music. He was kind of bringing this really cross-cultural thing because my dad already understood the importance of bridging the worlds. Like the only way that we heal is actually not by othering and creating more unity and connection and understanding. And music, he already saw, and which, is something I live in my day-to-day life. And I grew up listening to all the records that he would play. His music is the bridge. It is the way. It's like the universal language that shows us that we are all part of one human family. And it's just this illusion that these national, these borders as we see them, or these divisions exist. It's totally a construct that is a complete lie and a fabrication. It's like talk to any other species on this planet and they have no idea what you're talking about. That is just a corridor. I travel across that area all the time. How many bird migrational patterns, right? Whales,
Right.
various species, right? You don't know what you're talking about. What do you mean a wall?
The butterfly migration here in Southern California is happening. The butterflies fly south to Mexico during the winter.
Yeah. And you know, something to that also, I think is really fascinating is to look at music has known this too. Humanity has known this. And when we look at music, it's a beautiful lens into that, because you think about the Silk Road and the connection of music all the way from Andalusia and in Spain, all the way to the far east part of India. And you listen to the musical influences that have been communicating for generations and generations. You can hear it in the music when you listen to flamenco, just like you can listen to certain styles of South Indian classical music. And you're like, wow, those are relatives. They're primos, you know, they're cousins. And so it shows you that that exchange on humanity and the relatedness of all things has been going on far longer than anyone realizes. And any other narrative that we've been told is I invite, you know, individuals to look more deeply and to see, because there may be something actually much deeper and maybe more insidious that is behind those narratives to keep us in a fear place and place of disconnection and place of othering, to be able to manipulate and control and push agendas that essentially allow us and give us the justification to then do inhumane things to one another, to our brothers and sisters, which ultimately is ourself.
Right. Right.
So music's been the bridge. And my dad kind of planted that seed and was also put a guitar in my hand when I was 12. My mother also, she's been taking me to ceremonies since I was a little boy. I mean, I think I was 8 when I was in my first sweat lodge with her in Nipi ceremony. And yeah, I went with her to the Sundance ceremony growing up as a little kid. She's always and my mother was born in Brazil. My mom's Brasileira. I was born in Brazil, brought to the States young. And yeah, that's kind of been the journey is to, for me, is like understanding my place in the world, always feeling a certain level of being an outcast or an outsider, never fully belonging. And in that journey of finding myself, ultimately discovering the music was my greatest ally. And in that deep relationship that I developed, and love affair, you could say, with music, is cultivated, you know, my passion of being able to share that with others and to help them discover the instrument that they truly are. And that instrument, you know, that Gandhi speaks of, the instrument of change that we all are. You know, music is a language of change. It's a language of movement, which I think is something else people miss, right? It touches the emotion, right? Energy and motion. And so frequency, vibration, as bodies of water, we receive that language. We don't need to even understand what the lyrics are saying. We can feel the tone and the timing and the spaciousness or the lack of spaciousness, the tension and the release. And this literally moves our body and compels us and propels us forward onto the journey of life. And ultimately, I think that's where the healing happens, because water that's stagnant becomes sick. And it gets full of bacteria and things, you know, other things take over to clean that mess up. But water that's moving and flowing, which is the natural state of water, always flowing through the path of least resistance, is water that's healthy and vibrant and vitality. And that's ultimately our greatest teacher. We're here, I believe, in water's great project.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's music. Ultimately, the language of that is music. So anyways,
yes,
that answers your question.
Yeah. I love that. I really, really got a sense of why this is your path and purpose. And you chose well. I mean, your parents, they brought you through in a way. And I see you as an embodiment of that bridge, being born in Brazil, brought to the States, but now bringing this culture, far and wide. You know, you've traveled the world, bringing the rhythm, bringing the groove, and allowing folks to move their bodies. I even see it, you know, in my children. My daughter Winona is 2. And if we put on something that's got a nice drum beat or some djembe, her body, she just knows. Her body just starts moving, and it's awakening that water that you were speaking to. It's almost, it's intuitive, but it's almost, it's our nature. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's our nature. It truly, like, you can't, overstate that. Mm-hmm. And it's something that, you know, I've been really diving into this actually quite a bit recently. Kind of more deeper existential conversation. I have a men's group that, you know, a pod that I started, in the midst of the pandemic, when a lot was going on around like cancel culture, you know, really canceling a lot of artists and musicians. One of them being, you know, a brother that I really, cared for. And I was observing and kind of watching his trajectory by the name of Nako. I think you guys probably are familiar with him. And I think when Nako kind of, had one of the big attacks, all the stuff of all his shadow coming up to the surface, I was actually with my partner, Ashley, at the time. And we were sitting out. It was a beautiful full moon. I remember it was July, I think it was 2020. And we were sitting out in the desert and just reflecting. We were like, and we thought, I had this realization. We're like, what's happening right now with these various artists, this othering, this energy in our scene, because it's happening all over various music scenes and all over our culture.
But I remember it was everyone was putting in their opinions at that time,
and there was such a volatility in a othering energy, like I was speaking before, in that wasn't recognizing also the shadow that it was reflecting to all of us. It's within all of us that we all have. And ultimately, for me, and Ashley, in our dialogue with that, it was like, if our music scene, and I'm going to identify it, like when I say our, I'm speaking to like, and these are kind of funny terms, but trying to give it some kind of label. So forgive me, but I would say like conscious music or transformational music.
Yeah, I would say Trevor Hall, Rising Appalachia, these types of artists who are all a part of this movement.
Yeah. Yeah, medicine music falls into that. I think there's kind of, you did the Venn diagram, right? There's a lot of different areas. West Coast bass music gets a little bit in there, and you got, all these things kind of overlap in this diagram. But ultimately, artists who are really trying to create music that's propelling us forward is touching this frequency of consciousness. And not to say that we're all conscious and we've all woke or any like this. I feel like that's like the shadow side of this whole movement, right? That invites us to look deeper at the dialogue of like, it's not a destination. It's not like when you get there, now you're enlightened. No, it's how do you live, right? Moment by moment, continue to come back to presence, continue to learn how to ultimately master our nervous system and regulation, and how to then live from a place of authenticity, alignment with our higher self. And for me, like, I want to find, like, for me, I think there's a sound to that. And that's the soundtrack, ultimately, to put it, simply, that I'm always trying to empty myself and allow spirit to bring through in a given moment. So that's why all my performances, it's improvised. I never have a set list. No two sets are ever alike. And that's by design, so that it forces me to not get into any habituality with the music either, and to really arrive vulnerable, that anything could happen. Disaster could happen at any moment. So there's a risk factor, right? But it puts me in this honest vulnerability that I'm there attuning with the nervous system of the audience, right? And the unseen and the land and the space and that moment and the arrow of time, and allowing that creativity, that origination, as it's been explained to me by a master, it's called origination consciousness. It's higher level consciousness than thinking, because we're manifesting in the now, and it's unfolding immediately, like straight from source into the now form. And so you're
freestyling out there.
You're freestyling. And, exactly. And hip hop is understood this from the get go. And of course, hip hop's roots all the way back to Mama Africa, right? Like, this is a very ancestral music. It comes from our most ancient ancestors, right? All the way back to our mitochondrial grandmother, in Gabon, in the caves of Gabon. I mean, we could go into a real deep piece here, but to speak to this piece with Nako, I just want to make sure I land this. So the men's group formed out of this, because with Ashley, I realized, I was like, we're at a moment where if our music scene can't address this, can't start a dialogue around this or do anything about it, how are we going to expect other music scenes to do that? How is the rock scene going to do that? How are these other scenes, right, of music? Is the jazz scene going to have a dialogue like this? Maybe, but I wasn't seeing any leaders in that way stepping forth. And so it planted a seed. I started dialogues in these meetings with Rising Appalachia, the girls there, Tina Malia. There was a handful of different artists, and I brought in feminine and men in the dialogue, and in that conversation, those meetings, just counseling, to talk about it, like, as this deeper work.
Yeah. What did you guys find out of that dialogue?
Yeah, there was a lot. So like, to give like kind of a summary, I think the essence that I can transmit here is that there's a common prayer and intentionality around that. Canceling someone isn't the way. It's not going to actually address what is the underlying cause and the underlying wound that actually is wanting to come to the surface. Because all wounds, right? We all carry various wounds, many ancestral, generational, many from this lifetime, the wounding that we do because of the wounds we carry, unknowing, unconsciously. And so there's this opportunity to now bring those to light. And the fact that there is this movement happening, people being able to speak, is really important. So it's not to shut that down, but it's how do we create a dialogue that actually invites, rather than calling someone out, it's calling someone in. It's how do I call this individual in, or the collective in, to actually talk about this in a deeper way, in a regulated way, where there's an opportunity for actual healing, which comes out of an atonement process. And the atonement process is so important, and something we actually need to do right now. I mean, as a people, what's happening right now with the government, with Epstein, with the abuses of power, with the normalization of pedophilia right now amongst the ruling class. I mean, it's so deep right now what's happening. And of course, it's happening right on time, as spirit would have it. You know, the cadence of the music, right? It's like today I was listening to a post from a friend of mine, Makad Brooks, who's an actor and an activist. And you probably know Makad. Yeah. So, you know, he's an old brother, and his post was really deep and moving. And he basically was speaking to, you know, the DOJ's kind of presentation to Congress, and her making this shift basically in the midst of them questioning her, basically saying how, like, basically, how can you question this? Look at the stock market, look at the economy. And he really makes a beautiful, eloquent point that what happened in that moment, it was that her mask, it wasn't just a non sequitur. She was actually letting her mask slip off for a moment and really revealing the deeper underlying thing that's happening here, is that humanity, right, and human life is expendable for the sake of the economic growth. And basically the economic growth and success is able to wash the hands of empire that dates all the way back to where did the stock market start, was in the very first companies that were dealing with the transatlantic slave trade. And they made their wealth and they went public. The first companies to go public were slave trade companies, literally one of them being named The Company. And so that was the name of it because it was such a big corporation at that time. They just called it The Company. You know what I mean? So to put it in perspective, so his point, and kind of bring me back to this thread here, is that I really see that the importance right now and the opportunity for us to feel all the things. And then once we're able to come back to regulation, to center, the movement forward is to allow us to actually open the dialogue here. Just like in this, rather than canceling, rather than pointing the finger, even at Captain T, you know, it's looking at what are the wounds underneath that are driving him to be a narcissist, to be so self-centered, to have this insatiable appetite that he just wants to continue to dominate in this way. What is the deeper wound? And where is that in me? What that's resonating something deep in me? You know, where am I complicit? Where am I, you know, part of this system that's been constructed by my forefathers, by all of our forefathers, right? Because we all have blood of colonizer and colonized. Go as far back as you want from every culture. It's been happening. It's a pattern. It's a human pattern in this era that we're in. And so back with Nako, so like in this whole conversation of you know, cancel culture, we in that dialogue, we're seeing that there's an importance to do the men's work. And, you know, honestly, at that time, I hadn't really done quote unquote men's work. I wasn't too familiar. You know, I knew of men's work, you know, Mankind Project, but I hadn't had the opportunity to actually sit in a council with men specifically with those questions at the forefront.
Yeah, that's what's important about it, because a lot of the ceremonies that are initiatory, like Inipi ceremony, like Hamblecha, like even plant medicine ceremonies, they're very individual. You have these awakenings, you have these new awarenesses, and you don't always have a chance to speak directly to the shadow, or to speak directly even to the joy, or to the brilliance, or the radiance. These circles are an opportunity for actual honesty. And then what you're stepping towards is accountability. And in that moment, you know, whether Nako in 2020 was ready, you know, or willing to step in with his own version of taking accountability, I don't know that, but the opportunity being there is paramount. We have to allow men in our society, in our cultures, in our community to talk about these things honestly.
100%. And I think that's, you know, that's what came out of that, was it basically seeded an intention and a clarity for me that men's work is actually really essential. And I wanted to dive in full force in that moment through that work and those dialogues with those artists, those fellow kind of my peers. And so out of that came a realization. And Ashley really pointed this out, my partner. She said, this is a moment where you can call brothers in. None of you are touring right now. And I was like, you're right. The only time we ever see each other as artists is like at a festival when we're all booked on a lineup, right? And we like get to see each other and hang out backstage. But you can't get us all in the same room at the same time because we're all out there on the road. And so out of that came basically, I invited 10 other men to come into the circle. And Nako was one of them at the time. He couldn't do it. He had other things that he was doing his own process, which was okay. But what it did for me, which was amazing, is it made me really go into this deeper process of cultivating my understanding of what modern men's work looks like. And, I think you might know Jedi Azuma, a dear brother of mine, a Rising Man project. And so he was coming to the Sundance and supporting the Sundance at that time. He's since then is also dancing with us in the Arbor. And Jedi was, he and Phil, his co-lead, both who'd been dancing with me, we both committed and pledged to the tree at the same time. So we'd been on this journey for a long time. So Jedi was actually supporting Phil in the beginning and then eventually made his own commitment, which has been beautiful, those two brothers. And so they invited me to kind of coach me, and I asked them, could they mentor me and kind of give me taking me into the reins.
Give me the men's work codes.
Give me the codes, please, brothers. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and it was pandemic, so they weren't doing in-person meetings. So I had to jump in. I did a 12-week call with them they call it Inferno, where it's like 12 weeks, doing these weekly calls with a group of 20 men. And it was amazing. It was really eye-opening and powerful, and they're impeccable leaders. I really respect those two brothers a lot. And then it kind of got me to tracking. And then I started to see Sacred Sons work. I really started following the Mythic Masculine podcast and, just kind of following these other thinkers of our time that are doing good work in this way. And it was giving me this tool set that then I could bring to this group of artists. And so this group of artists, we got together, we started a weekly call. This group, and I'm not going to give all their names, but they're various musicians, touring artists, men that you love and know, from our scene. And I thought it would just last 6 months, a year. We put together a retreat with Ashley's help. We put a curriculum together that was so powerful and gelled us as a crew that we've been continuing these men's calls till now, 2026. It hasn't stopped. I tell the guys, I'm like, are you guys maybe you can do other groups? We don't, and they're like, no.
This is the one.
This is the one. They're like, are you kidding? They're like, I don't want this to stop, because it's become a safe haven, a place where we get to tune in with each other. Every 2 weeks we have a call. And we get to drop into the vulnerability and the authenticity with a group of men that can help hold each other accountable and be like that mirror in a time, that we need it most. And there's so much chaos, so much noise. So getting signal through the noise floor is so essential at this time. And it's hard when you're on stage, because in the position we're in, it's different. It's there's political leaders. And then I think that there's cultural leaders. There's people who are at the forefront creating and innovating and listening. Deep listening, especially as musicians, I think we have a unique role because we have a responsibility. Not all musicians recognize this, I don't think, but we have a lot of power, because we have a microphone and our frequency is being amplified, whether we want to recognize it or not. So what we put through that microphone, what we emanate from our body, and the coherency that we live with, how much of what our lyrics, are we living in congruency and in alignment with our lyrical message or not, which was the case of my dear brother, who then got all that cancel culture, pulled in him out, and being a hard mirror and wake up call. I think he's come a long way. I don't know. I haven't talked with him in a long time, but just to say, you do have a choice, but ultimately, your highest self, your soul, the calling on you, it's going to keep bringing you those lessons, and you're going to keep getting those reflections, because there's nowhere to hide. And in today's age, I think even more so, there's nowhere to hide between you and Creator. If you don't live in integrity and don't walk your talk and live with that action before you, there's something that's deeply misaligned that is felt. Even if it doesn't look, even if it looks all shiny and pretty and the packaging's all great, it's it's felt through the frequency of the music. And when it is aligned, it's unstoppable. It penetrates down into the soul, not just the bones, but to the soul. And what is possible for the liberation of humanity, just like the great prophet Bob Marley, we still listen to his records. His music is timeless because there's a depth, right? And there's a frequency that's there, that's in those recordings, that even today we can play it, right? And it makes my heart beat stronger. And it gives me that strength and that courage to face the fears and the uncertainty of life.
Yeah. I feel that so much. And even with Bob, it's like his vibration was so authentic, was so, free flowing from him that it transcends and lasts to this day, like you said. And could he have done that in a social media age, with all the criticism and all the things coming, and we're seeing the shadows of our culture continually coming into the light. So this is a message really for anyone listening. If you're aligned to your values and doing good work, keep shining your light. And if there's parts of you, and we all have it, if there's parts that need to be realigned, need to be looked at, need to be confessed even, the sacred act of confession is a part of the men's work as well. Like there's time for that now. It's in just kind of a knowingness, everything's coming up. And you mentioned Epstein. So we're really in this right now where Naco might have been a mirror for a small community. What's happening now is a mirror for the entire planet. I feel because it's what's happening now is in all of these different sectors. It's having impact on our consciousness. But the light I see in this particular moment is that the amount of disgust, of grief, of what the fuck is actually an indicator of where our consciousness is. It's actually an indicator of where our hearts are as a culture. And so what I'm seeing is our consciousness has evolved to a place where this is no longer acceptable behavior at all.
And it never was, right? Like when has pedophilia ever been acceptable? Like,
well,
in fact,
culturally, it's accepted in different areas on the planet, even to this day. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. But I guess what I'm speaking to is like, even if you go back into the oldest scriptures or the oldest writings, right? The Popol Vuh, the Mayan, if you go to the original scriptures of India in Sanskrit, if you look at the Bible in the Old Testament, there's references and speaking to pedophilia and like the abuse and having intercourse with children is always been held with the highest disdain of any other act. Like you can kill someone, but a higher criminal act is to violate innocence.
Yes. And that even plays out in our prison culture today, where pedophiles who go to prison usually get killed or harmed by the inmates, right? Like we have this knowingness as men, like that is wrong.
Yeah. So deep.
And what the challenge of now is like, they're putting this in our faces, P, in a way where they're like, and you can't do anything about it. They're putting it in our face and saying like, we're not going to lock any of these people up. You can't touch us. And there's a part of us as men that gets an opportunity to respond. And I think that's the big question right now. How will we respond and how best to respond? My understanding is that we each go inside. It's an inside job. We take a look at where that inner colonizer is, where that inner abuser is, where that past version of ourselves may have made mistakes. And like each of us doing our own work is enough. I truly believe that. And if more and more of us choose to do our inner work and to do that inner excavation alongside of others, that is the response. And we stop creating, in that way, we stop creating these monsters.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, and that's what I think you hit it on the head. It's an inside job. What this is a reflection. It's a mirror. And that's what I was speaking to earlier. It's how do we call each other in to the process of atonement? And you said something really key earlier, the confession. So confession is actually one part of the atonement process. There's multiple stages to it. And it starts first by recognizing it. It's recognition. It's seeing it. It's like, oh, this is the thing. I can't deny this anymore. I have to actually look at this. And by acknowledging it and speaking that and it being witnessed, and that's the confession part of it, right? Being able to come to, but to get to that first stage, we require remorse.
Mm-hmm.
Remorse is key because what often happens and what is happening right now in our culture and what has happened with me, and you may relate to this, is there's toxic shame. Toxic shame. The shame is actually it's this insidious force that actually will suppress the wound and will mask the wound, right? And then will act out and project, right, violently, and all the dysregulation and all of the attacks and all of the violence, right, is actually all this toxic shame that we collectively share because we're all complicit in this system. And the fact of what this is bringing to the forefront and up to the surface is that we're all part of this. We all bought into it. We've all thought, it's had all these beautiful mirrors over it. And now it's undeniable. It's so undeniable, right? That it's like acidic and like painful, just interacting, just looking at any headline. It's like, I feel the pain so deep on every part of my own body. I feel the violation of those children. I feel it in my own body. I feel that part that is within me. What part of me is the violator, is the perpetrator? And, in whatever way that might be, and any time I've ever looked at pornography, anything like that, where it's like, where I've been indoctrinated and seeing those, being able to recognize it first. And then what it's created for me, I'm in my own process with this, of remorse with my partner, where I've become dysregulated, where I've been unfair to her. I've used language and tone that's not appropriate, when I've been abusive. And from the stress, from the rigors of being, all the pressure that I have, who gets that? My beloved, because she, has access to my heart and me to hers. And there's the greatest trust there. And unfortunately, that's right where we fall into that victim triangle of perpetrator and victim and rescuer. It's right there. And that's exactly what's happening on a societal level. So it's degrees of this. But I share this vulnerably here with you and, with our listeners. I'm in this process right now. And it's been profound because I was in this work that I've been doing every week. While I'm home off the road, we've been doing intensives with a coach, counselor. And I've been able to really access this and see the generational place where it's been, in my grandfather, to my father, and to me. And it's like, and it stops with me. I'm the only one who's in an embodied place right now, in a place of presence and awareness, where I'm able to see it and actually name it. And I feel the remorse. I saw the toxic shame. It was like a lid covering it and sealing my access to the remorse, because the remorse is key, because it actually takes us back to the heart. It's our connection back to the heart. And from the place of remorse, I'm able to actually ask for authentic forgiveness and actually forgive myself and ask for that forgiveness from other. When it's witnessed, that's the confession. The other part of this, my beloved, who we've been doing the couples work and I've been doing solo work, and she's able to then respond to that and actually feel that. And that's able to be witnessed. And the key here too, I learned, is the witness has to be neutral. It can't be someone who's actually siding. It has to be someone who actually can hold it in all the complexities and all the shades of gray. That's not black and white, and able to actually hold it neutrally. That's really important, and witness this process of the atonement process. And then from there, we get to something known as the ethical upgrade, when the wound can come to the surface, can be healed and spoken to, and there can be actual atonement, actual amends is the last stage of that, and in creating what are the amends. And I'm in that stage right now with my beloved, of amending for all the years. So her and I, we're celebrating tomorrow 15 years of being in partnership. And I like to tell people, Adam, we've been on the road for 14 of those 15 years. She's been on tour with me. So if you think about it, most partners, the couple they have their gigs, right? You see each other, you have dinner, you spend certain time maybe with the kids, but like you go to your thing, she goes to her thing. You're not together 24/7. When you're on the road, like basically in a band together, we're in all stressful situations, transition constantly, all kinds of stressful stuff, 24/7 on, months at a time. And so what that does is it's like, we've been together 15 years, but it feels like 30. It's like we've been in trenches, right? It's like we've been through so much together. And as an independent artists, as musicians, it's like, it's one of the hardest industries on the planet. It's like especially when you're trying to be indie and you're trying to be pioneers, not follow the alcohol model. There's so much stress, and it's just a very difficult journey that requires a lot of sacrifice. And in that, we've sacrificed not having children. And it's been the fucking hardest for me, brother. Cause I've seen my brothers with kids, you're beautiful. I'm just like, wow, creator, there's a part of me that doesn't want to let go of that. And so it's been a deep journey for me of understanding what fathering is, and how do I get to father in my life through my music? How do I get to father, various others who I get to be a mentor to? How do I get to be that father in the creation and the stewardship of this earth, and being a voice for the inexpressible, and being a protector, for those who are vulnerable? And so that includes this dialogue that we're having now.
Yeah.
So, and doing that work in myself, for my family, for my generations, and for the generations to come. Even though I won't have my own children, I get to be an uncle, a tío. So Yeah, thank you for letting me share that.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's stay here. But I recently saw you give a big prayer up to the masculine. You were performing in a beautiful church, and there was no sound. It was just your voice and a prayer for the men on this planet and for the masculine to rise. And just in hearing you now, I have to imagine that a part of that calling is also for yourself. It's not just to project on that everyone else needs this, but it's like you're really calling this energy to rise up for yourself and for all of us. And I'm on a similar mission here, calling the brothers in, calling us forward to a higher standard, a standard that creates less harm, that perpetuates less harm, I would say. And in alignment, not enlightenment, but embodiment. Yeah. Like we're not here to be wiser than or holier than. It's like I'm here to be fully human alongside my brothers.
Yeah.
And I feel like this call is so needed right now. You mentioned like mentorship, but the young men coming up, they're coming up in this now time where all of this disgusting thing it's traumatizing to even be like, I have my own version of doom scrolling this stuff and having my own process with what's being revealed. And so in that prayer, I just want to acknowledge you because I think more young men need this type of mentorship and to know that this type of thinking exists. Because what they've been shown is a lot of darkness. But there's light here for the masculine. There's light here when men choose to stand up and to protect women and children. And then the reality for us all, though, it starts in our homes. And I agree. I'm right there with you, man. Like my beloved wife, Hannah, we've been together for 9 years. She sees all of me. And the uncomfortable truth is that those who are closest to us often get the worst of us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
I do. Yeah.
That is why, I utilize men's work in that way for myself. I utilize ceremony in that way for myself as well. And
completely.
Yeah.
And it's not a destination. It's never done, right? I've come to this realization. It's like, it's like, all right, I'm going to knock this out. I'm going to crush this course. I'm going to do this counseling for this long. And then I'm like, it's all healed. It's all fixed. It's like, no, and it's very much, just to tie it into my ceremonial journey a little bit. I was called onto the path to dance myself. My mother was a sun dancer. She was adopted by a Diné family, a Navajo family. When I was a little boy growing up, I'd spend time out on the res in Diné land, helping herd sheep and take care of my grandmothers in Hogan. And I learned a lot through that process. And later, I didn't think I would actually commit to the Red Road and to that ceremonial path because I was also a body worker. I studied a lot in body work and myofascial work. And so I understood the impact of doing the kind of sacrifice you have to do, including physical offerings and physical flesh offerings that create all the scar tissue. So I was like, I don't think I'm going to take that part. I'm going to take the other part that doesn't include that part. And many years later, one of my uncles, my spiritual uncle, coming out of a lodge, he was like, he asked me point blank, like, so are you going to dance? And I was like, I'd like been, no. And then finally I was just like, something in my body before my mind could kick on was like, and I was like, and Ashley looked at me. She's like, what are you sure? And I'm like, it's like that. I had to explore that. And I went back to those ceremonial grounds and met with my relatives there and got really clear. And I had a vision come to me. And in that vision, I saw the generations and I saw all the elders, all of those who are passing. A lot of this ancestral knowledge and wisdom is leaving us. It's slowly but surely because the younger generations are actually not carrying it. They want to go to the city. They don't want to stay on the res. They don't want to hold a lot of these ways. And so it was a deep insight of like, no, to come back to the tree, to come back to that prayer. And I share this because in my journey with that and the journey with the scar tissue, that's part of that because we make a flesh offering.
Yeah, could you describe it just for those who are listening, the piercing and you don't have to actually reveal the ceremony because I think it's meant to be private, but there is an aspect of piercing the flesh and moving through the discomfort.
Yeah. And so the way that our elders would ask me to do this is that we would share some tobacco actually to share this. So I do this, here just acknowledging that we don't have that ability right now with this virtual format. But I'll share this much, I think is part of that ceremony, and which is historically, and I mean history isn't before there was history, before written history. This is a very ancient ceremony. It's one of 7 sacred ceremonies that was carried by the Sioux people, the Lakota people. But it's actually been shared with other tribes, so it's become an intertribal ceremony. not all tribes, but certain tribes. Dene Navajo, our chief is Navajo, is Dene man, medicine man, who was given a chanupa by Larry Crodog. And Leonard Crodog is passed on, but this chief passed this chanupa to our chief. And so we carry that because he saw the importance of bringing those prayers and these ways to the Dene people who have their own ceremonies. So some people might ask, well, that's Dene, that's not Lakota. Why is that? So that's why there's a very old history there of that intertribal lineage and collaboration, understanding that certain ceremonies are needing to be carried for the healing. Because what's the deeper layers of that is this work is doing ancestral work and healing and bridging. And our specific Sundance, and not all Sundances have the same prayer. Historically, they were warrior prayer, and they were created to prepare warriors to go into battle, to go into death. And they were for men historically. Women now dance, and that's been for some time now, but they don't make this flesh offering the way the men do. And the reason for that, and the way I've come to understanding, is we dance because we make a sacrifice as men because we don't have a moon, and we don't understand the pain and the suffering that is endured by the feminine to give life that brought us here, our mothers. And so it is literally a physical, symbolic, embodied understanding and teaching to give of our flesh and our blood so that we can feel and connect to and have remorse. It actually comes into that atonement process. At least for me, that's been very much a deep part of that. Because the first time that I pierced, I immediately had every being that I'd ever sacrificed, every cockroach I ever smashed, every animal flesh that I ever partook of, all those beings came to me immediately. And they were all with me at that tree. And I began to wept. I wept, and all these tears just welled up in me. And I realized, and I asked for forgiveness. And in that moment, I was able to understand the connection to the sacrifice of taking life so that life can be, in a way that I couldn't. I understood it intellectually, but it's like to have a somatic understanding. There's nothing else. There's no other way. And I understand now why so many of the younger generations, they don't want to go through sacrifice. They don't understand, why do you have to do all that? Why do you suffer? Why would you do that? That's an old way. The modern way, right? Our society is everything's comfortable. Everything's easy. Right. It's comfort, man. It's comfort. Pink Floyd said it. We've become comfortably numb. And that's the dark side of this, which connects back to our thread, back to Epstein, back to what we're talking about, right? It's like we've all bought into this comfort that has actually been at the sacrifice of our actual knowing, our true power, our ability to sit in the discomfort, our ability to be able to sacrifice and offer our life so that life can be, and to be those protectors. And that's why the Sundance ceremony, as one of many ceremonies from various lineages, prepared the masculine to be able to face death, hokahe, to have a good day to die, to go into battle with courage as a warrior of love. Though you might have to take life, but to do that from a place of full rooted authenticity, aligned with your highest self, with creator and with your community, because it's held in a circle by your whole community, your whole family, your larger family. And I share all this back to the original thread of this, is that I've come to understand that the scar tissue, you're never done in this process. That scar tissue is always healing, and it's continuing to grow. It's like a vine, right? And this is from my bodywork background, right? In understanding the soma and the tissues. The fascial, when you have a scar in your body, when you take a bullet, when you take a wound, a heavy wound, a cut, that laceration, that scar tissue will continue to spread slowly over time into your fascial, the web of your body. It's like a vine. And so if you don't treat it, if you don't take care of it and continue to tend to it, cross fiber friction onto the scar, continue to massage it, move it, get it to have circulation, that scar will grow and spread and continue to cause toxins to build up and get caught in it, because it's a denser fibrous tissue in your body physically. So on an anatomical level, you literally become more rigid, and there's more death in your body and rigidity rather than plasticity. And what this creates is sickness. And so it's so analogous to the healing process of these traumas that we carry in our energetic field, in our emotional body, in our spiritual body. They're all the same. It's all one body. We just use in our language, right? We separate it out so that we can kind of like talk about it. But the truth is it's one. And hence, and it's all vibration, and it's all music. And this is why, like, I bring us back to this thread, right? It's like, you're never done. It's not a destination. This process of healing, it's ongoing. And I've had to come to this realization over and over again. It's like, and so the sooner I can get to the realization, and this is what I want to get to, the sooner I can realize that it's music, I can get back into the seat of making music. I'm going to jam with it. How do I let those wounds, that trauma, how can I give it expression so it can be heard, it can be felt, it can be digested, be witnessed, and it can be moved? Because in the movement of it is where we heal. And when we move together on the dance floor or in the circle of the ceremony, right, we literally transform and integrate it. And once it's integrated, all of our power comes back to us, authentic power, not the grasping little powers, not the power that we get modeled by those who are currently in those seats of presidents and leadership. But the real power is that deeper power of time. The small power, as my brother Josh says on Emerald Podcast, he had a beautiful podcast on power. I recommend people to have a listen to. But he speaks about this, the little powers, not the overt power. That's the real power, the power of nature, the power of time, right? The little acts that day by day add up, right? The drip of a river, of a waterfall that carves the Grand Canyon. Like, that's real power. And so how do we align to that? How do we embody that in our expression? And going back to what we're saying, it's like with our beloveds, day by day, I come back and I humble myself. And when I get dysregulated, when I lose myself, when I get distracted, is that I come back here to my heart. I ask for forgiveness. I atone. I own it immediately, as quickly as I can. I clean up the mess in her heart and I plant flowers in that place. And I get back in and I'm in. And in that way, and with my brothers, and I ask my brothers, please help hold me accountable, kick my ass, get me back in this process. When I'm hiding out over here, when I start to let that buildup of scar tissue take over, help me so that I can clean that up and I can show up, 100% myself. Because in that place, oh, brother, Adam, that's the only way that humanity exalts itself into its highest level as the guardians of this earth, as the keepers of fire, which is our birthright, rather than falling into the shadows, which so many of the dark forces would like to see happen, where we succumb to the most base levels of inhumanity. And we're right there. And AI, then we do become the bootloader for the AI consciousness that then becomes the next, I don't know, what is after this, right? What is next? What is the song after the human song?
Yeah. Yeah. And may we each be a little drip of our own waterfall, the power of collective humanity. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, it comes back to each of us and the power that we all have to tend to our own gardens, to tend to our own wounds, to massage our own scars, so that when we leave, there is a signature of goodness in the direction of harmony that we have left behind. And if each of us do that, I just come back to the idea that it's enough. And when I hear you speaking about music, I'm thinking culturally. We talked a little bit about hip hop, but how punk rock and these music emerges to meet the dominant culture as resistance, as a expression of who we really are. And I love that. I believe music is the medicine. It is the way to meet really troubling times.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
completely. It's and I want to presence some of the masters. We spoke to Bob Marley, Fela Kuti, another incredible revolutionary who, he would say music is the weapon. He was in a context where he actually saw it as the weapon. I upgrade that in my own way to music is medicine. Music is the healing balm. Music. And when I speak of music, I think it's important to make a distinction. Music, capital M. Music, capital M, refers to music as a consciousness, as a being, as literally something. Music, she exists like a river exists. She's always flowing. She's always there. She's always traveling and moving to the source, guided by the source, winding through the path of least resistance, inviting us to let go of the banks and allow her to sweep us up and be taken by her. Versus music, lowercase m, music of industry, music of consumption, music that's been colonized and enslaved and is used to control and to manipulate and to persist rather than resist the systems and the power structures that be. So that elevator music, that music that's playing in the back of the shopping, in the retail shop where you walk into, that music now that's being generated in mass by AI, The music, like there was certain rap music, for instance, and hip hop artists that were being manipulated to create music that would engender more violence and kind of gang culture.
Yes.
That was actually a move, that's been connected and brought to light. You probably know about this,
Yeah,
Adam.
absolutely.
To incarcerate more young men of color. I mean,
and to perpetuate that projection that like all black people are gangsters, and putting gangster rap as the defining characteristic of an entire, race of people.
Programming,
that
right?
programming, it's deep.
It's programming. It's deep. It's so deep. And now the bar is even dropped further. Electronic music, which was at one time part of an underground scene, all right, another form of resistance, right? When it was still rave culture, even before rave culture, right? When it was in the warehouses in New York City, right? When you have like these, the original, hip hop DJs who would then start mixing in beats, from disco, and you had the original house music, the house scene before it became, commercialized. And what's happened now you can't listen to any artist or indie artist without a kick, sampled beat or some kind of electronic influence in it. Almost all music now, unless you just listen to pure jazz, for instance, I mean, pretty much everything now, and even that is going into an electronic domain. And now the reason why I say that's lowered the bar is because now, and so not even mentioning now AI music, right? Is that now it's like everybody has access into creating electronic music. It requires no embodied experience of having to struggle, learning how to move a kick drum with your foot, learning how to motor coordination of how to like play a drum kit, 10,000 hours to become proficient and a masterful on an instrument. So now it's even gone further. Now, literally before we even got used to that, the fact that electronic music is everywhere, now add in the fact that you can just put a prompt into a machine, into this AI, and Suno is, I think, the classic platform people are using that I've heard of, and put a prompt in, make me a track about this that sounds like the artist Poranguí. And I literally had a guy walk up to me at a festival, another producer, and do this to show me how crazy this thing is.
Wow.
And what it produced was
it disheartening?
What was disheartening? It was disheartening. It was offensive. I felt appalled. I felt a lot of things. I kind of wanted to punch him. I was like,
get this out of my face.
You know what I mean? But I was like, okay. And it was
on some level, some of the music you're like, oh, that's kind of dope.
Well, it goes to show you, it's like, so that's what I'm saying about the bar's been lowered, is that I recognize that our tastes, because of what's happened to music right now, literally music in our generation, we're watching it go. It's because recorded music isn't barely 100 years old. The advent of recording, right, is just a few generations old. Before recorded music, think about how would you experience music? If you wanted to experience music, what would you have to do?
Live in the park, in the city center, in a theater,
on a battlefield, at a ceremony,
the drums on a battlefield,
right?
Yes.
If you wanted to motivate a platoon, best believe they had a drum. You're about to walk into your death. Are you ready? Fucking give me a beat. Because that's the only way I'm going to do it. Otherwise, I'm really thinking about every other step. I want to do it that way. It's like, are you kidding? I'm like, why am I dying? For what king? For what, what monarch that I have nothing to do with, who enslaved my parents? You know what I'm saying? So like, that's how they motivated millions, billions, right? To walk onto battlefields and to do that. And that's how music has been at every ceremony, at death, at birth, at joining of union. I mean, music has been with our ancestors at harvest, at planting. It's been sung in the fields, right? It's so deep. It's been a form of communication ancestrally.
And a form of transformation ancestrally. Like you just started to say it, the old slave songs that were sung by people who were being forced into, forced labor, into slavery. And they still found a way to transform that experience through the unification of voices and through raising the voices and through bringing through a connection to God is really what I see music as. Music connects us direct to God. To God, to creation, to creator, right? And that's what I wanted to actually get at. So that's one of the central themes here I think I want to make sure that lands, Adam, is that the bar's been dropped and that we've lost our personal relationship to the creation as creators, as authors, and having authority of our relationship to music itself, that capital M music. When we sing a song, when we hum, when we jam, when we grab an instrument, when we play our body,
when we make music with this physical structure, this instrument that we were gifted for this short amount of time that we get to walk this earth, when we forget this, we literally become alienated and disconnected and disempowered. And so at the core of my work, like I do performances on stages, but my real work is what we kind of were talking about a little bit before we started recording, is the retreat work and the workshop work that I do. And I do it because I want to say something kind of edgy. Like for me, it's like the performances are to get you to the workshop, to get you to the in-person experience. And the reason why is because when I get to work with people in person, that music is medicine curriculum that I teach, it's about giving you the codes so that you can start to get into the flow state with sound creation, and you can start to heal. And it's deep because it's therapeutic work as well. It's therapy work, somatic therapy work that's embodied and almost disguised, you could say, although I'm very overt about it. So, but it's disguised, it's wrapped in having fun. Which is essential, because I think a lot of the therapeutic work that's out there, people will shy away from, because, man, I don't want to sit there and talk for all these hours. I don't want to sit there, I got to pay somebody to sit there and be still and go into the dark areas of my closet. No, thank you. I'm good. I'm going to stay over here. But when I say, hey, let's jam, everyone's in. And then what's beautiful is that in that process, we're in the circle, in a safe space, in a container where everyone's there to help one another. We all want to see each other succeed. We all want to jam together. That's beautiful about, I want to jam it with you. That's what he's talking about, right? Is that we all want to jam. And music, capital M, is always about collaboration. It's not about competition. And as much as the powers that be want us to believe that the predator-prey model is actually the way nature works, it's not. Nature is about collaboration. It's all about collaboration and creation and co-creation. And how do we find our niche? How do we each play our unique note and the sound that only Adam, your instrument is one of a kind. It's a Stradivarius. No two are ever going to be alike ever in all the cosmos. And so the circle isn't complete until your voice is activated and sung, your drum, your instrument, your groove. And when that's part of the orchestra, the symphony of life gets activated. And I believe that's when humanity really jumps into the next octave of why we came here. We get to really discover what we're here to do. And the music that we create, and I believe all other species on this earth actually will come alive in ways we don't even see yet.
They're all these species have their own songs. The whales have their own songs. The birds wake up every morning. I wake up here in my home to the birds singing. It's like nature's constantly encouraging us to sing. And I wanted to say this. You may not know this about me. I was in a metal band for 10 years. I traveled the world screaming on stages and headbanging. So that was my contribution. That was my unique voice was, that was me. And in the men's workspace, one of the things Sacred Sons culture that has emerged from our culture is these masculine anthems. We sing together as men. And this goes back, into tribal living as well. But when the men sing together, when we harmonize our voices, the women and children feel safe. Because when we're singing, when we're using our voices in collaboration, and we make that call, and we call up to the spirits, to the guides, to the ancestors, we make that call, the women and children, they feel our capacity to protect, to contain, to provide, all of that is there in that moment. And we found this, it's almost like finding a lost treasure. We found it instinctually. A man would move through a big movement of tears and of grief and of remorse and confession. And the only way that we found that truly can build him back and to raise his spirit back up is to slowly begin singing. And so we've developed these songs as Sacred Sons where we bring men back into their body, back into their heart, until that man who was once a puddle on the earth, giving his water to the earth, all of a sudden now with our voices raised up, he's able to come back into the community again. And there's a lot of cultures, maybe you're familiar with the Himba tribe of Africa. They have a song for each member of their community. A song is sung to them at birth, which is also intuited. And it's not sung until the moment that they meet that soul. And when that young man or young woman is out of alignment, the community will sing. When it's their time to celebrate them, the community will sing their song. And there's something that is so potent about singing somebody back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's specifically with the brothers, because I'm just so close to it. There's just something so true about what you're saying about collaboration. And it doesn't matter if you can't sing or you think you can't sing.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you're the best singer in the world. We're here to create a harmony. And the person who's kind of like off key creates something within that harmony that is unique and beautiful. It's, that kind of thinking in a choir, everything that's added can only add more beauty. It's really an amazing phenomenon that happens. Like all those frequencies come through and everything is useful.
Everything is useful. You said it. I so appreciate hearing that, and that you guys incorporate that, because I think that is so essential to our nature. That is our nature. Like nature through us is a sung expression, is a played expression, and nothing's wasted. You know, even if someone is not, they don't have that mastery, they haven't cultivated that skill or that discernment of pitch. That's not what's important. It's not about the music being perfect. It's actually the perfect imperfection that makes it rich and beautiful, because every voice is heard. And however they come, because we're going to come days where we don't even have a voice, where we're hoarse, we're blown out. We just don't have it. But like just by showing up into the circle and opening ourselves to that, there's such deep healing. And then others carry us because we're not alone. And that's the other piece to this. You know, we don't sing alone. We're not in this alone. And especially for us as men, we've so been indoctrinated. Part of that indoctrination is into a culture of the lone wolf, culture of just, I got it. It's just me. It's all up to me if it's to be. And this independent energy, especially in the American program, that we're solo, we're siloed off. And so there's something to be said about that when we start to share, when we start to open up that vulnerability of the power and the mana that becomes available as in arm with our brothers and with our sisters. And like we were saying earlier, the feminine needs to be in that circle. It's masculine and feminine. It's all the ways that masculine and feminine energy need to be, is expressed and is expressing in this human biology, no matter how it is showing up. We're seeing now that there is a rainbow, and there always has been. It's actually not, it's just that now there's finally there's discourse and rhetoric around it. Some of it's distorted because of what's happening, right? But if we look back, one of the things I've loved about a lot of the Red Road and the indigenous ways is that most tribes that I've had contact with directly has a language and has a recognition of twin-spirited beings and beings who do not fit nicely into the binary of male-female, right? And the way they express, and that is actually a sacred position, an exalted position of honor, because they carry a unique perspective that is mana and medicine for the people. And that if we silence that, or we oppress that, or we try to banish that, it's literally we're cutting a limb off, right? We're missing something so important.
Yeah, everything integrated. I guess everything is useful. We just said it.
Everything is useful. We just said it.
Everything integrated into the village, right? And we've lost the village mindedness because we're in now the nuclear family model. We're all in our own boxes for comfort and for pleasure. And so
our elders are put into the old folks' homes, and our children are being stuck into the schools and the daycares. It's totally broken.
And the mothers are suffering because they're responsible for raising these children by themselves, and they were never meant to be raised, alone, even by two parents and siblings. I'm a perfect case example. We're constantly leaning on aunties, uncles, the community, our families. We need the village. And not only does the children need a village to raise them, but the adults in relationship need the village for that very thing that we were speaking to. And so we're doing this April 11th and 12th in San Diego. Everything that we just talked about is kind of a culmination of what's going to happen. We're coming together as men and women. We're going to do deeply immersive inner work alongside of each other. As Sacred Sons, we've developed really incredible practices in a sequence of practices that help us remove those layers of resistance, I would say. That part of ourselves that's I don't want to share, or I don't want to be seen this way. the ego gets in the way, the mind gets in the way. And so we've developed a sequence of workshops and of experiences to remove that resistive layer so that we can just show up honest and authentic. And then once we move that energy, we have some incredible thought leaders, and then we're going to have some music and dance it out and move it through our bodies. And so like, that's what we're creating together at this Sacred Sun Summit. We're inviting in our entire community, and we're inviting you, Poranguí, to lead us in this musical way, and in this way of dance and expression. I've already seen it. At this point, I'm remembering that what we're doing out there at Summit, it's phenomenal. It's so needed, especially now. Like, if you need a place to scream, come scream. If you need a place to cry and grieve, come grieve with us. If you need a place to say the truth, to speak your voice, to take up space. I love to encourage my brothers and sisters just to take up space and to come and be real and be human alongside other humans. It's so needed. And, you know, this is a modern way. It truly is. And I'm also, I'm a part of a Inipi Sweat Lodge community. I have been for a very long time. I'm a part of different medicine circles and communities. And there's an aspect to the work that we're doing that gives everyone a voice, that gives everyone an opportunity to sing, in a way, give everybody their own beat, you know, as a part of this symphony.
That's beautiful. I so appreciate that. And I feel like it's such an essential part of what we need to do right now, to all the things that we spoke to, you know, in this conversation. I feel like we're at a moment, we're at a precipice as a species, as a society, as this particular nation, right? We find ourselves in, known as, you know, Turtle Island, but called, you know, the United States of America, when really, you know, it's, and just shortened to America, when in fact, right, there's a lot of Americas, not just this one.
Bad
right?
Bunny just listed them at the Super Bowl. I don't know if you saw that. It was amazing. Yeah. It was amazing.
And so it's important, right? We recognize that. And like you said, and that all those voices are able to be heard, to be at the table, I think is so important. And in the circle, in the song, weaving all of those voices together, because we're not whole until all of them are there. Even the softest ones, the loudest ones, being able to have that sensitivity, those dynamics, right? That we give space for all of it to be at the table, to be in the song. And in that co-creation, we're able to align and help one another align back to our higher self. And really, you know, ultimately, I think my belief is that that is the way. And that is the way that is going to propel us forward and upward as a species and as leaders on this earth, that all the other beings of this earth and the star nations are waiting for us to step into. And ultimately, as men, it's on us right now, you know, and it's a lot of pressure. And so we can't do it alone. So what you guys are doing with Sacred Sons, you know, and all of our other relatives who are doing this work, you know, helping us as men come back together and do this deeper excavation work and be able to do it together in brotherhood, is at a moment that is so essential. And being able to be also vigilant in that work, that we see the blind spots, that we continue to examine ourselves, right? That we continue to see where are we not seeing things, where are we in a distortion? Cause it's like, in the process, more will be revealed. We don't know it all. We can't know it all. It's mystery. And we're in a mystery cycle right now as a collective. There's a lot of unknown. We're in that Western gate, as the Lakota people would say, in the darkness of the womb of the Inipi, in the womb of our mother. That's where all life is born. That's where the infinite is possible. And so we're in that right now as a collective. And it's learning to be comfortable in the unknown, learning to be not comfortable as in comfortably numb, but comfortable as in regulated, as in grounded, as in aligned, breath by breath, beat by beat, note by note. And coming back to self, coming back to center, and coming back to love.
Coming back to love. Love is the answer to all questions.
Oh.
It truly is, isn't it? Like, at the end of the day. And man, I love that you called in the star beings. Like, they're waiting on us. They're waiting on us to come back to love.
Yeah, you know, you know, all the great, you know, so they're just waiting for us. They've been with us since the beginning. I mean, we're connected to star nations. We're related to star nations. And so that's something, that all this disclosure stuff and all the things, it's so funny. I find it humorous because it's like, it's like, okay, yeah, it's big news. You're going to drop the news. It's like this, our ancestors have been talking about this forever. Like this, it's so clear, and if you're really listening, if you're really tuned in, right, it's like there's constant communication happening and dialogue and this waiting. There's a certain waiting because we're not ready. We're about to be ready. And that's why I say we're on this precipice. And it can't be stressed enough. This is the moment. Master the nervous system, master this biology before we try to be transhuman, which is happening so rapidly, right? This push for AI, right? This push to like suddenly every app, everything.
The push for your AI in life forever is a fear of death.
Right.
And something that is similar about all of the ceremonies is that they are all confronting our mortality. They're also confronting discomfort, and when we're a part of a society that ultimately fears something that is inevitable, that's a misalignment.
100%.
And in that, we're also afraid of birth.
We stop living.
Yes.
We stop living.
We stop living. We stop loving. Yes, we push the elders out. We industrialize the birth process. All of these systems were created out of fear. It's not to say that some of them are not helpful or useful, but the pendulum has swung so far into a fear state that we have to meet that fear with love. And the way to truly love is to know that we can only love if there is a form of loss on the other side, if there's something to risk. That's the depth of our love. The depth that we're able to love is equivalent to the risk of what we may lose or what we will inevitably lose. When I look at my children, I love them so intensely knowing that there will be a time where we're no longer together. I had a vision of my son, Noah. My oldest son is 11. And before he was born, I had a vision of him in the womb through a ceremony. And in this vision, I had all these messages coming. You've been together before. Last time it was like this, but now you're the father. He's the son. It was like, it was showing me. And then ultimately what it showed me is there's no separation between our souls.
No separation.
Like, we're in this. We're here together. And in that, there's nothing to be afraid of. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to love or to return to love.
Yeah. To atone, to ask for forgiveness, to return. Yeah. It's like we will fall out of grace. It's inevitable. It's part of the journey. Falling out of grace. It's not if you make a mistake. It's when you do. How soon can we pick ourselves back up? Can you get back on that note? Can you get back on that drum? Can you get back into the groove of life and get in that collaborative energy of co-creating heaven on earth? That is what we're here to create. Not just for the human species, for all beings, for all sentient beings, for all the little beings, for all the small powers. That's becoming that drip, that waterfall. That's how we carve that Grand Canyon. That's how we leave a legacy for the generations. That's the arc. That arrow of time is an illusion, right? Ultimately, it bends back and it becomes a hoop. And that's one of the deep teachings from our elders is the hoop of life that we're talking about, right? It's all the same. We're on that same wheel. You could call it samsara, but however we want to name it, whatever lens, world cosmology we want to look at it, we're talking about the same common shared experience. And it's an experience of coming and returning to love, of salvation, of transformation, of rising. And we're in this opportunity to rise. We're going through the falls and rising. And right now, humanity, we're in a period of shadow, great shadow. And that's because we need to do the homework. The inside job, as he so beautifully put it, it's an inside job, and it starts right here. And then it ripples out in all directions. And so I just invite, those listening, to really workshop your voice, workshop your instrument, jam. Find opportunities to jam and to create and to co-create, and
to create live. There's something that I love about what you're doing with the emergence of this live performance that is not rigid to a set list.
Right.
No, I'm curious for if you were talking to a young man who's out there, because we're saying some big things, and I know there's a man out there listening, and probably there's a thought what could I do? How could I possibly have an impact? And in this conversation, my recommendation is create art, and not to repost it, not just to
release it, not to record it. Create art for art's sake.
Yeah.
That's our most redeeming quality, Adam, as human beings. Because, and again, going back to music before the advent of recording threw a very interesting existential, you could say, problem into the mix, opportunity into the mix, right, for music. Because suddenly we started capturing a now and trying to relive a now from another now in this now. So literally, we when we listen to a recording, you're listening to an echo of another now. You're not actually... And you're re-experiencing it, but it's never going to be the same as when you were there creating it or receiving it directly. And that's really important, because that's something that is part of what is being degraded. And I would almost venture to say there's a nutritional component to music, that we're getting empty calories, much like a GMO tomato that looks plump, looks delicious, right? It has all the characteristics. It should be amazing, but it's actually empty. It doesn't give us, our body actually not give us the nutritional value we need and our daily value that we need to sustain us and to nourish our being. And it may even be poisoning us. And it's poisoning our environment, the creation of it. And so when we go all the way now advancing to like AI music, where it's coming not from analog to digital to analog, like most modern recordings, it's actually going prompt to digital to analog. So it's like a one way. So you're missing half of the information. So though it may sound, oh, that sounds like a great pop track, I promise you it's missing. There's missing subtle things that your body, you may not even be able to intellectually recognize, but your body is not getting that full nutritional value that you need to sustain you, to be in relationship to the pulse of life itself. And that's the thing, is like this, there's kind of like that bar of what is acceptable has gotten so low that we're like, okay, that's cool. That's dope. It's like, we've lost that. We're satisfied eating these really, like the McDonald's of music, if you will. We've become, most people are listening to music on AirPods and on, on like, versus the experience of being in a room and feeling those frequencies, those waves touch your body from the string or from the vocal cord or from the skin of a drum, and moving, actually tactily moving the water in your body. Instead, we're listening on these little speakers through all these conversions and downsampling. There's just, it's lossy. It's all lossy, other than the real thing.
And then they're flashing pictures at the same time if you're watching a video that also are distracting. I have a lived example in my house because, I'm so proud of these songs that I was speaking to earlier, but my youngest son, Johan, who just turned 4, he will sing these songs. Hey mama, we sing for you. Our hearts vibrate a song for you. This is one of the anthems, which actually came from a school teacher, but it became a Sacred Sons anthem. We can sing it to all of the individuals, but my son will sing these songs at the table. We'll sing a song called When I Go that my brother Kale wrote. And they know these songs because they've been in the ceremony with us. At the same time, I just introduced Johan to Michael Jackson's Thriller. When I was a kid, I watched Thriller so many times.
Yeah.
And so that's also maybe a part of my culture, but my boy loves zombies, surprising, and he loves music. And so when he saw Thriller, he just wanted to watch it on repeat, but he wasn't interacting with it. Maybe a little bit of getting up and dancing like Michael, but he's sitting down and he's watching an experience of music. When he's around the dinner table and we're praying and we sing these songs, there's a light. And that light comes from the nutrition that you're talking about. It's like, it's live, it's lived. He loves the fact that he remembers the song, and that if he starts, that we will come in. That's a little power, right?
That's power.
If I sing this, my daddy and my mommy, my brothers, they'll sing with me. It's a different experience of these two things, which I value. You know what I mean? It's no shade to Thriller. I grew up on it. No. I had the penny loafers with the penny in it. I had the glove. My grandma made me the Michael Jackson glove.
I mean,
different experience when I'm in lodge.
Right.
And one of my teachers, rest his soul, Daniel Thunderhawk Moon, when he would hit that drum with the teachings and then with the song, it's a different experience of music.
It's a different experience. And note it marks a different moment of life, right? It's not like that anything is bad or good. And I want to make sure that's clear. It's like, it's actually understanding what is appropriate for the now.
Right.
What is appropriate right now? So when your son, maybe there's an argument between the two of you, if your son can tap into that and start to sing and like literally pull you both out of dysregulation and you start singing, like, right? Think about that. Like he would think about that little power, right?
Oh yeah.
Like but that's the power that it wields. It immediately attunes all of you back into that family alignment and coherency and that love, and brings you right back to that channel, right? And sometimes we're out on the dance floor, man, and we need that beat. We need that DJ to drop something right in that moment. That's what's appropriate for that now. And that's actually the power of the DJ. The DJ is a postmodern phenomenon that's fascinating to kind of look at from this way. The DJ basically became the selector of tracks, of moments from another now, and they recontextualize other moments, these recordings, these echoes of another time, into the now to make them relevant once again. So they actually serving in the way, bringing that aliveness by making something relevant to now. So again, it's asking the question, how do I serve this now? How do I serve the music? And that's one of my kind of central teachings in the curriculum and what I teach in my retreats and workshops. It's helping people to always use this question as like an axiom. If you're going to go left or right, do I take a solo? Do I lay out? What do I do right now? Ask yourself, does this serve the music? And capital M music. So like, am I serving my ego? Do I want attention? Am I trying to like, or am I shying away from power? Or am I hiding out? Am I being aloof? Like, it's a beautiful thing. Is this serving the music? And if we are always serving music, capital M, we're serving life. And when we're serving life, we're in that alignment. And that's like, for me, has been a really beautiful way to like keep myself on track, keep myself in the pocket.
Yeah. This is all good. Make art. If you're out there listening, if you listen this far, make some art, sing with your children, sing with your bros. The women are singing. They've been singing the whole time.
People who sing together, stay together.
There you go.
This is think about it. And that's not mine. That came from Biko Cassini, who's the drummer for Rising Appalachia. And Biko's is a dear, dear brother. And Biko says that's something they learned on the farm because he grew up on one of the longest lasting intentional communities that came out of the hippie era of the 60s and 70s. And they're still there fully going, in their community in Tennessee. And he said this is something they've learned. Their community is like when you sing together, when your voices join, it helps you reconnect, you realign, and it will keep you together. Even if there's hardship or disagreement or, different perspectives, it brings us back into that alignment, that at one-ment, which is that atonement, right? At one-ment. So I just, I want to leave that seed with what your encouragement there to our listeners.
Well, what I just had a visualization while all this is happening on a political stage. Imagine not a protest, which has vitriol and rage, but imagine a stand-in, brothers and sisters, arm in arm, singing One Love.
Yeah. Singing
One Love, not playing it on the speakers, singing it from heart, from a great teacher and passing it on. Imagine a world where that's what it means to stand with or to stand for love. It's not to protest against, but it's to sing with our hearts, arm in arm. Like no force could penetrate that.
Nothing. No. And as you said earlier, the women and the children feel safe. And when they feel safe, we all our nervous systems settle. It's like no harm can be done when we're in that creatorship. We're connected to source. We're connected to God, to that infinite. And we're literally creating. We are creators in that moment. We are rooted in our authority as authors, right? The root of authority is author. So that authorship in the creative act, that origination consciousness, it's a frequency that will entrain, will bring others into it, right? It's like, even if you're just a bystander there, even if you're not there yet, that's okay. Nothing's wasted. Being your presence, just listening and being a part of that collective field creates a coherency that ripples out and is impenetrable, and it penetrates the hearts of all of the perpetration that's happened, of all of the wounding, all of the murdering, all of the ones who've literally violated the bodies of our youth, of our children, of the innocents, the raping of innocence. Sing a song. And can you do that act? It's not incongruent. It's not possible. It's like You know, it literally is like, it's not even within the realm of your consciousness, of your auric field, because there's so much of that positivity and heldness, right? And coherency that exudes and overflows. Brother, I think there's a code. This is a piece right now that we need as a human family.
Yeah, we will be leading the way, as I said, April 11th and 12th in San Diego, California. We will be singing, you know, we'll be doing deep work. We'll be listening to some incredible thought leaders and speakers, and we will sing. We'll raise our voices together, arm in arm. And when we do that, hand in hand, brothers and sisters, giving the prayers up to the land, you know, that's a good way.
That's the way. This is the way. Yeah. Yeah. We'll be, I look forward to the music that will flow through me with all of us together, April 11th. I'm really excited for that, you know, because I never know, you know, it's so much of the music I create in the way that I do it intentionally is responding to what's alive in the collective. And so we'll be creating that together. So I kind of always say that, you know, it's like, it's not just me over here generating. It's like, it's actually, it's a total co-creation. And so what's going to emerge on April 11th, it's exciting. To say the least. Yeah. Yeah.
I've already seen it. I've lived it. I felt it. It was amazing. Make sure you're there, April 11th.
Not to be missed.
I just want to add this note. If you're not quite ready to take the deep dive into doing a couple days of inner work, you can also just join for the Poranguí concert, which will be Saturday night, April 11th. So if you just want to come for the celebration, you're also welcome to just come for the concert. So join us. There's no excuse. San Diego, we want to see you there. I will be there. Poranguí will be there. Allison Armstrong, Don Miguel Ruiz Jr., Rhonda Swan, my Sacred Sons brothers, Kevin Walton, Shems Hartwell, Vince Matoska, Anton Mackey. The whole squad's there. And we're coming full heart.
Yeah, it's going to be such an offering. And just so people know too, we're going to be doing a West Coast tour in May this year. We're about to announce it actually. So I don't know when people will see this, but you know, just to say this is the only show we're doing in SoCal. So like we intentionally did that by design because we want to concentrate the energy and really uplift this prayer that's being co-created with y'all. So I just want to say that to everyone. Come down, experience this frequency that we're creating, this prayer, this coherency at a time when we need it the most. And so we can just ripple it out across California, across the rest of our nation, across the rest of our beautiful planet, this jewel in the vast void of space. And thank you, Adam. Thank you for the opportunity. Yeah. Really grateful to you and all the brothers for the work you all are doing. You know, the ways that you guys are helping show up as leaders in this moment for us as men and for the collective. So really, my hat's off to you, brother.
Yeah. It's an honor. You're welcome. Yeah. We all deserve it. We all deserve spaces, like I said, to come together, to heal, to grieve, to be human again in this incredibly beautiful time. I'm just going to say it. It's a beautiful time. Fuck it.
It's a beautiful time.
It's a beautiful time.
It is a beautiful time. You know, you're not lying. and I'll, if I can, I want to share this because one of the deep teachings of our elders, Dene elders, is one of Hojon, which is beauty or beauty way. And, you know, Hojon Hashli, this prayer of the beauty way, it's an opportunity and it's an invitation. It's how do we pray and create balance once again, the restoration of beauty, turning the ugly into the beautiful, right? Over and over again, where there's desecration, how do we make it beautiful? Where the altar has been destroyed, how do we rebuild it? And right now, that's the opportunity. This destruction that's being laid, it's clearing things. It's removing old structures and it's unveiling and bringing that wound so that we can bring that love and care and beauty back and restore the beauty. So, Hojon Hashli Ehahe, I offer that to all of our brothers and sisters and to you and I here and in our families and extended families and all our relations, that there can be beauty before us, beauty beside us, beauty behind us, beauty above us, beauty beneath us. Beauty within us. Aho Mitakuyasan. Thank you.
Aho Mitakuyasan. And so it is. Make music, make art. Atone for the parts of yourself that need to be seen, accepted, and forgiven. And we will see you April 11th in San Diego. With that, My brother, Poranguí, it's been an honor just to sit here even for this time. I feel very lit up just from this interaction, so I appreciate you very much. Always rooting for you and watching the musical medicine spread far and wide. And we can't even know the amount of impact and all those ripples from all these ceremonies and all the hearts that you've touched with your music. But I just want to honor you and acknowledge you for following your dharma, for showing up and being fully authentically you, because it matters and we need you. Thank you, Poranguí. With that, Adam Jackson, Sacred Sons, Poranguí, Sacred Sons Summit. Join us April 11th. Much love, everybody. Peace.
Much love. We'll see you there. Ashe.